Archie Comic Publications Incorporated celebrated their 80-year anniversary back in 2019. The publishing house started out printing superhero comics, but it wasn't very long until the titular series, starring the beloved redhead Casanova, made its debut in 1941. Archie was an overnight success. He quickly became a fan-favorite character. Originally, the company was called MLF Magazines, but after the success of the Archie comics, they changed their name and devoted all their efforts into chronicling the lives of the teenagers at Riverdale High. Over the decades, we've become acquainted with quite a few of Archie's friends and associates outside of his core crew. You got Josie and the Pussycats, and Sabrina the Teenage Witch for starters. And outside the comics, we got TV shows, movies, and even a real-world band that managed to score a #1 single. The Archie universe is actually a lot more expansive than you probably realize. After the momentous success of the CW's Riverdale live-action Archie spin-off, a whole new generation is now hooked on Archie and Friends. So, it's worth taking a look back in time at how Archie became this incredibly enduring franchise. While we're at it, we're going to look at some of the most obscure and interesting chapters in Archie's past. To get started, let's take a look at the character who inspired a little bit of moral panic when she first hit the scene. Cheryl Blossom was originally deemed too sexy. The Archie comics have always striven to be fairly clean and family-friendly. That's precisely why Cheryl Blossom was abruptly written out of the comics in 1985. The voluptuous redhead was just too sexy coming from a comic series geared towards kids. Or at least that's how some concerned parents saw things. Archie Comics decided to take heed of the concerns so they wouldn't lose any sales, but instead of abandoning her as a character, they simply put her on the back burner. She made her return to the pages of the comics in 1994, and when she showed up back on the scene, Archie tried his best to hide her return from Betty and Veronica. Apparently, he didn't want to have to decide whose affection to reciprocate. It was already hard enough dealing with Betty and Veronica. Throwing Cheryl back in the mix made things that much more confusing to the poor guy. Crossovers are king. Especially in recent times, crossovers have been a frequent fixture of the Archie comics. In 2010, for example, Archie got to meet Barack Obama and Sarah Palin in an issue entitled Campaign Pain. Archie has also linked up with the classic rock band Kiss, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Punisher, the cast of Glee, and even Sharknado. In the Sharknado issue, Archie is featured on the cover wearing a tattered shirt and triumphantly holding a chainsaw a la Army of Darkness as a tornado of sharks swirls in the background. Archie met Jesus. Back in 1973, Al Hartley, one of the Archie artists, decided he wanted to do a series of Christian comics based upon the characters in the Archie comics. He had become a born-again Christian about 5 years before and felt compelled to use his art and love for Archie to spread the gospel. He managed to convince his boss, John Goldwater, to license the characters over to Spire Comics, a popular Christian comic company, and 19 comics were produced featuring Archie and the gang exploring the message of the Bible. In one issue, a hippie gets converted to the Christian path and opens a Christian bookstore because Riverdale High School stopped teaching the Bible. Jesus is presented as some kind of surfer dude at the beach who lives in his van. It's pretty remarkable. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Tap the bell icon to turn on notifications while you're at it. Make sure you keep watching to learn who the gay Archie character was and just what's going on with Jughead's love life. Archie was based upon another character. Archie Andrews was loosely based upon Andy Hardy. He was a young man about Archie's age who was played by Mickey Rooney in the film series that was distributed by MGM from 1937 to 46. Granted, the two fictional characters aren't exactly the same, but they follow a similar plot. Andy is popular with both the Bettys and Veronicas of his own small town and is constantly struggling to choose who he wants to go steady with. Only one issue was ever reprinted. In 2010, Kevin Keller was introduced to the series in Veronica issue number 202. He's the first gay character to be featured in the Archie universe. The issue sold out so quickly, the company decided it was best to reprint another lot of copies. Archie Comics had never reprinted an issue of the comics until this point. In the Life of Archie comic series, Archie actually ended up giving his life to save Kevin, who wound up becoming a senator from getting shot. What a hero. Archie can get pretty dark. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina debuted in 2014. Fans are probably familiar with the Netflix spin-off series that ran for 2 seasons from 2019 to 2020. That spooky series was actually inspired by the success of another dark Archie comic. Afterlife with Archie was published in 2013 and followed an alternate universe plot where Riverdale was infested with zombies. Unfortunately, Jughead had also been infected with the zombie virus. It was actually the first Archie comic to be written specifically with a mature audience in mind. Archie had a radio show. The Adventures of Archie Andrews radio show was syndicated from 1943 to 1953 on NBC. The show started off each episode with a nasally voiced Jughead urging Archie to relax. Strangely, the show featured Archie's mom and dad more often than himself. Some of the plot lines in the show were pretty weak as well. In one episode, Archie struggles to pick an outfit for a date with Veronica. In another, Archie's dad wallpapers a room, and in another, Archie goes shopping to find the perfect hammock. Thrilling. The Monkees turned down Sugar Sugar, so it went to the Archies. Don Kirshner, producer for the Monkees, was originally offered the track, but he turned it down. The band was tired of doing youthful songs like that, and they wanted more artistic control of their music. Mike Nesmith got so angry at Kirshner for suggesting they do the song, he punched a hole through a wall and told him it should have been his face. Instead of putting up with the moody band members of the Monkees, Kirshner decided to create the Archies to perform the song. He formed the band out of the teenage characters from the Archie show. Sugar Sugar went on to become the #1 chart-topping hit of 1969. Archie animated shows always fare poorly. Sure, live-action shows like Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Riverdale have been pretty successful over the years, but for some reason, every attempt at producing an animated series has failed. The Archie show premiered in 1969 but was canceled a year later. The new Archies likewise was met with lackluster viewership. In the 80s, Archie's Weird Mysteries featured the gang taking on monsters and villains in a very similar manner to Scooby-Doo and Company. A new animated series called It's Archie was planned for 2013, but never aired. Apparently, Archie cartoons just aren't meant to be. There was an Archie made-for-TV movie. To Riverdale and Back Again was broadcast on NBC in 1990. The storyline follows Archie returning to Riverdale High for his 15-year reunion. Archie has since become a successful lawyer and is all set to get married to his fiancée Pam. At the reunion, he's forced to choose once again between Veronica, Betty, or his fiancée. The movie was met with pretty poor reviews and received a dismal Nielsen rating of 51. Originally, the film was intended to be a pilot for a potential series, but plans for the show were scrapped after the cool reception. Archie Comics published a comic adaptation of the TV film to coincide with its release. The comic was reviewed with a much warmer reception than its film counterpart. Archie was once a superhero named Captain Pureheart. Spoiler alert, Archie Andrews makes for one lousy superhero. Back in 1966, Archie was transformed into a Superman-inspired superhero equipped with the ability to fly with his trusty jet boosters and the power of super strength. Reggie, of course, is his archenemy and goes by the name Evilheart. Another villain Captain Pureheart has to clash with is the Ice Cube. Betty and Jughead are Captain Pureheart's sidekicks and go by the names Super Teen and Captain Hero, respectively. It shouldn't surprise anyone that Captain Pureheart was nixed after only 6 issues because of poor sales. There are Archie young adult fiction books. A few years ago, Diary of a Girl Next Door, Betty, came out. It was written by Tanya Del Rio and was written from the first-person point of view of Betty. Throughout the comic series, Betty always kept a personal diary, so this book was like an intimate peek into her mind and life. Much of the book is filled with drawings that Betty supposedly drew, and the art style was basically plagiarized from the similarly titled young adult hit, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Tanya Del Rio has also written quite a few Sabrina the Teenage Witch manga and comic books. Jughead Jones is asexual. No, that doesn't mean he reproduces by budding or something like that, but it does mean he has no interest in sexual relationships. He's traditionally been more into cheeseburgers than he has been into romance. For years, fans had suspected something of this nature, but it was officially confirmed in 2016 in the Jughead reboot comic series. The revelation that Jughead is canonically asexual was met with praise and acclaim. Many people expressed their support of the bold move and noted that fiction and media franchises hardly ever touch on asexuality and what it really means. Well, here we are yet again at the end of another video. Don't be sad, we got plenty of content on its way. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications by tapping the bell icon so you can keep up with all our latest videos. But before you go, we'd love to hear from you. Who do you think Archie should wind up with, Betty or Veronica? It's kind of the age-old question, isn't it? Let us know what you think in the comments section below.